Good evening and welcome to It's About Time, the Project Outreach Service Learning Challenge for Destination Imagination. I'm Dan Wilson and I'm one of the challenge masters for this, and with me we have, go ahead.
I'm Lena. Hello.
I love that. And I'm Jennifer. Hi, friends.
And tonight we're going to go through the It's About Time challenge for the team managers. If you're in the wrong challenge, now's a good time to leave, or if you're just exploring, please stay and ask questions. We're happy to answer. Who's starting for us today?
So I will be starting. Okay. And let's see. So sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I have the right slide here. Okay, my name's Lena, and this is my 5th year with DI. I started as an appraiser, and I've just kind of worked through the different ranks, so to speak, of Project Outreach, now known as the Service Learning Challenge. And I'm really excited to be with you here again this year.
Do you want to share the screen so that they can see the
yes.
our intro slide?
Yes. Okay.
Thanks for checking that, Dan.
Patience.
I was wondering if, am I missing something?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's all good. I think, can you guys see it okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks everyone again for your patience. So one more time, this is me, Lena, again, 5 years with DI, and here's my contact information. So if you have any questions, things come up, please feel free to contact me via email, and then for my cell phone, call or text or any of those is totally fine.
And I'm Dan Wilson. I've been doing DI for about 10 years, give or take a couple. Started with my daughter in 1st, 2nd grade as a rising star, and she did it all the way through elementary school, and then I moved into Challenge Master Fund. So here to help out.
Fun times. And I'm Jennifer Zakotnik Gutierrez. I realized this year this is year 10, and that was a really big deal for me. I didn't realize I had done that yet. That's my husband in the background. Apparently you can see him. Nope. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm in year 10. I've been doing Challenge Master for the most part of that and just really loving it. So yeah, definitely feel free to let me know if you have any questions or if you just want to say hi.
Yeah. All right, so I think Jennifer is going to tell you a little bit about what we are here for.
I am. Okay, well, our job, we're here really as the Affiliate Challenge Masters. We're here to kind of train our team managers and our appraiser trainings on It's About Time. And we kind of want to oversee those tournaments. So we're not, we all 3 are in charge of different regional tournaments. There are a bunch of other regional challenge masters who take care of those tournaments as well. But then we're actually in charge of running the site at the state tournament as well. But really what we want to be known for is being there for team managers. You folks are like the backbone of our organization. And we don't ever want you to feel like you're out there on your own trying to figure out something you don't know what you're doing. So we want you to know that we really are here to help you so that you can lead awesome teams. And let us know anytime you have questions or concerns or you're not sure what's happening, contact one of us or all of us, however you want to do it. And we'll get back to you as soon as we can to answer those questions that you do have.
Alrighty, so I'm going to be telling you all a little bit about the challenge. First, we're going to talk about the general idea of the challenge. Then after that, we're going to talk about the scoring process. But first, just to give you a little background on the challenge itself. So as the title of the challenge is named, this challenge is about service learning. So what is involved in that is your group. will come up with a community need. So what that means is they're going to identify something that they feel they want to help improve in their community. And that community can be as small as their classroom. It can grow into a school size. The community can be the town, and it can really go up from there. So whatever group it is that they desire to help, that is their community. And then the need can also be anything that the kids decide that they want to. So there's really a lot of room for creativity, for them to follow their hearts with what they really want to do. So that's a really neat thing that we can offer with this challenge. So when you see community need, that is what that is. So again, a community can be just as small as a small group, and then getting bigger from there. So that's the first thing we have here. And then over here we have next to that a community partner. So an option you have for this challenge is having someone in your community that is helping the group in terms of connecting them to that community that they are helping. So this person can be helping them just with setting up times for things, or it can be also a person who helps them with a general skill. So say there is some sort of skill that they need for their project, they are welcome to use a community partner to teach them how to do that skill that then they can apply later to their project. So this is meant to give them another resource of someone that they can use to help them through their project. So that is the community partner. And if you have questions about that, you're welcome to reach out to us, give us specific examples and see if that's okay. But really just anyone in that community who can help the kids work through their project and just help give them just another connection to that community as they work through their project. So the next thing we have here is project and project timeline. So an important part of this is to identify at least one project goal. And obviously, usually that naturally happens, but they do also want to identify that because that will have to be included in their presentation later. And then what we're also looking for is 3 or more milestones. So these are important tasks for the project and the point in the project timeline at which it is accomplished. So if you want a little more info on that, you're welcome to look at the roadmap. And we're also going to be doing an activity in a little bit just to kind of walk you through what that process can look like and what you can also use with the kids for them to be able to get an idea of what a milestone is and what that looks like through their project. So these are things you want to start off with from the beginning to really help guide the project. And the last thing you want to make sure that you complete, you being the group, is your community event. So your kids have identified a need, and then they need to have some sort of event to help them try to meet that need. So that can again be a lot of different things. So it can be a fundraiser, it can be a drive, just really anything where the community is involved with them and their project and seeing it, helping them how they need. So again, that can be if they're raising money, it can be a fundraiser, it can be a drive. So that needs to be held before the regional tournament. And then finally is the project evaluation. So that must include how time impacted the project. So that's also something you're going to want to look at, and you're going to see that word time comes up a lot in this challenge, hence the name of it. So just make sure you see your team is looking at that, because that's kind of a core idea of the project. Okay, so again, these are all our pre-tournament things that we want to look at here. So as a quick recap, community needs, so whatever your group, their little hearts desire, whatever they want to do to help. Again, you have a community partner option, and helping them look at the project goal, milestones, which again we'll do an activity for, and that community event where they really do something to try to meet that need in the community. And then finally the project evaluation, okay? And that's include how time impacted the project and really them reflecting on what happened. Okay, and then now, so the second part of this challenge is the kids have done this community service learning project. Now they are going to do a presentation for us. And it's not going to be like a business presentation or a recap. They are going to show us in a very creative way how their project went. And so they're going to show us that to us in the way of a story. So as you can see here, the story should contain characters that are in a race against time. And again, that's super open to interpretation. So that's the beauty of this, is their creativity can really have that mean whatever they want it to mean, as long as we can say that there was some sort of race against time. And in that story, they want to integrate all the things we just talked about. So their project goal, so what was their goal, their timeline, what the community event was, and the project evaluation, which again is them looking back on how it went, what went well, what didn't go well. And that wants to include the aspect of time. So we've now seen that come up a couple times, the importance of time in their presentation. Okay, and then they also want to include a milestone marker. So this represents time and shows or reveals information about the project milestones. And they can also use different technical methods for this as well, which in the challenge shows us that they can use different forms of science, technology, that sort of thing to show us this information. So again, a lot of creativity and different ways. So even though this seems very theatrical, it's still a ways that you can include some elements of science and technology as well, which is a really neat part. So you can tap into a lot of different interests of your team members. And I realized I didn't say this earlier, but on the bottom right-hand side here, you can see the page numbers that these slides relate to the challenge. So as you're looking through the challenge, if you want more detail, that's a really good resource, as well as always rules of the road. All right, and then finally we have here, which is kind of a DI standard, which is called the team choice elements, okay? So what's really neat about this is another chance, and actually 2 chances, where your team can show off a part of their presentation that they're super proud of. So again, lots of room for creativity, to be innovative, and I always really like seeing this because it's just a really neat way for the team to show off, again, something they're super excited or proud of. These 2 team choice elements can show off interests, skills, areas of strengths or talents of the group members. Again, lots of room there for creativity. It does need to have a meaningful connection to the central challenge and story. So it should be well integrated. So not just kind of going off on the side or randomly. It really should be well woven into the presentation. And so the only thing in that, this is this 3rd bullet point, which is super important, is that it can't be a specific item that was required for the central challenge. So something they are already getting scored on cannot be a team choice element. So you can't do that like double dipping. So it has to be something that they're not already getting scored for. Okay, so it can be a single or unique part of a required item as long as it's something separate that's being evaluated. And the team choice element is being evaluated for creativity, originality, quality workmanship or effort, and integration into the presentation. And in a second, Jennifer is going to be talking to us about scoring, and so she can show you how that all breaks down and what that looks like. So that is the final part of the challenge. And again, you get 2 team choice elements, and it's just, yeah, a really fun way for the kids to add a little bit more to their presentation to show their skills and their personalities. All right, so those are kind of the 3 main points. The before, again, the before the tournament, things they want to do, then the actual presentation that's happening, and the team choice elements that are getting included. So now we're going to kind of revisit these same points, but in terms of the scoring rubric. So Jennifer is going to tell us a little bit about that so you know what to expect in terms of scoring.
Oops. Here we go. Thanks, Lena. I think I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my scoring or my screen just to kind of, so I don't have to go to her. Let me see what's happening here. Hopefully this isn't going to, wait, here we go. Okay. Bear with me. Sometimes it seems like I know what I'm doing, but I don't always know. So let's see here. Oh, good gracious. Lena, how do I make this happen?
Present top right.
There we go. Thanks.
There you go.
Here we go. Awesome. So in terms of the scoring, this challenge kind of, just like any other challenge we're doing with DI, they're scored only on what is shown during their 8-minute presentation. And so this is kind of, this sheet, we actually took it, except what did I do? Sorry about that. There we go. We actually pulled this straight out of the challenge to kind of look at, what are the important parts of the challenge for the kids to show us. The cool thing about this is that kids are doing this service project, whatever that is, whatever their community need is, but we're not actually ever scoring what they actually did in terms of, we're not evaluating was Team A's project as nice as Team B's project, or did they make as big of an impact? That has nothing to do with it. It really just is, are they telling us about the project that they did do? So in terms of scoring, our total breakdown within the central challenge is, there are 2 parts to it, the story part and then the milestone marker part. Within the story, we're looking for kids to show us, creativity in that race against time with one or more of their characters. We want to see a complete story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and just kind of see that all come together and have stuff be integrated in there. But then within there, of course, there are these different pieces that are required elements of that story. Are they telling us one goal of the project? Have they integrated some information about that project timeline? Have they told us about the community event within their story? Is it part of the story? And so kind of are all of these pieces fitting in with the story that they're telling us? As you're reading the challenge, these things that are being scored here, I'm gesturing to my screen because clearly you can see that. These things that are actually being scored, they're actually, just to grab one little thing, they're indicated on your challenge with these little check marks. So as you're reading through the challenge with the teams, the check marks are then going to jump out and say, hey, that's a scoring element. That's important for us to focus on. And again, we're kind of looking for just the creative story, and are they telling us in a thorough way, in an integrated way about their project in terms of the story. So that's the main part of the scoring of the challenge. The other part of the central challenge is that milestone marker. So the milestone marker is going to be some sort of representation that we're looking for, a technical design or an innovation within that to kind of illustrate those milestones that they're making within their project. And we'll get into kind of what those milestones will look like a little bit later. Basically, we get a little bit of points for, are they actually showing us, do we actually see the 3 milestones that we need to see? And then, how creative are those representations, and are they integrated within the story? And then we kind of do a little bit of a judgment. Oh, good gracious, what's happening here? We do a little bit of a judgment based on, the technical design and the innovation, and how that actually flows then with the story. So that's kind of the main challenge scoring. It's all of those little pieces that are marked within the challenge as we read it, that kind of shout out and say, these are the important parts of what we want to be able to present. up on this, within the list, we can see the milestone markers show up in section 2B. And so that's going to be within this, within our purple challenge. I apologize, mine is purple. You probably got the, I'm not very good with computer stuff, clearly. You probably got the electronic version of this, right? But they all have these little, each heading has like a Roman numeral 1. So 2B, the section that I'm looking now with the milestone markers, shows up here on page 8. And so it's labeled as 2B. So that's kind of the central challenge scoring. The other part of the scoring that we know is big in DI are those team choice elements. And kind of the way this all fits together. Within the central challenge, the big part of that is the story arc. And then the milestone marker makes up, about 37% of the central challenge score. But then that whole challenge score goes all together with the instant challenge and then these team choice elements. And so team choice elements really are a big chunk of the overall score at the tournament, right? And what we're looking for in those really are, kind of what are those creative things that teams can do that we can tie in to what's happening within the story and within the challenge, but could actually be something on their own, and so a lot of times those are the things that the kids are especially proud of, or something that they realized, hey, we spent a lot of time on this one aspect and we're not actually getting points for it in our scoring list. That should be our team choice element, right? So kind of helping kids, find those things that they're passionate about, that can really let them shine in a way that maybe those specific aspects of the challenge don't give them that opportunity to. And these are, they're just a chance for the kids to have a little bit more fun and, kind of do something a little bit different in relation to their presentation that's not quite the same as, all of those particular aspects of the challenge. Oh, yep. And I guess, wow, we're trucking along. We're going to take a little trip here. Dan's going to jump in, and he's got this great activity for us to kind of look at how do milestones work and how we can use them to guide our process. So I'm going to stop my sharing and mute myself and throw Dan on.
All right. Thanks, Jennifer. Can you see my screen all right? You're all muted. All right. Is that a yes? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Great. Thank you. So, I need to go, well, it's my turn to fight with Google Slides, Jennifer. So, at the in-person event, we did do a milestone activity to help team managers learn what a milestone might look like, or what process the team might go through to identify a milestone. And so we asked the team managers that came to the in-person event to identify a trip they'd like to take. We have a cool mountain trip here. We had a cool plane flying into the sunset, made me think of Hawaii. And we had a high school student there, and she's like, we're going to the moon. And everyone's like, okay, let's go to the moon. And so we went from that to begin brainstorming what are the steps that it takes to go to the moon. And so let me pull up this picture real quick and see. I don't know if that's going to translate in the camera, but I've got little pieces of paper, and each person wrote ideas of what it might take to go to the moon on these pieces of paper. If you don't have sheets of paper, you can use index cards or Post-its, just something that the kids can jot down ideas. And so we had them start writing down, everyone that was in the room, what are some things you need to do to go to the moon? So they came up with, well, we need helmets, we need water, we're gonna have to find a space crew and maybe a spaceship. And then a few more ideas started being generated. And after about 5 minutes, we ended up with this list of ideas of, here's what it takes to get to the moon. Here's all the things I need to think about in this short period. And, I don't know anything about spaceflight, but I'm sure there's more things to add. And as your team sits down and starts thinking about what's our project and what are the steps to do our project, they're going to come up with a big list like this and go, oh, well, we're good. Let's start working with this. And that's fine. As they learn more, they'll add more. The next piece is for them to start going through and saying, what is the theme of these things? What goes together? And so you can see here, I've turned the text blue on, you know, how many are going, what people plan to go, find the space crew. We need to get a team, kind of a little theme there. And the group continued to sort and put things together and identify these things of this same color all go together. And at the end, we ended up with 5 groups of colors here. I love the brown on the bottom right corner of say goodbye. It's kind of, you know, the last minute item for the list, but it's got to be on there. Don't forget to say goodbye to the family. The next thing is we took them and put them physically together. So here's all those things put together on the page. And we can identify down here in the bottom right corner that the big goal is land on the moon. And here's all these other groupings. And so I asked the team managers to look at this and see if they could identify a theme in each of these groupings. And so this is what they came out with. We have a milestone of selecting a destination. We had one of kind of details. It's kind of a pseudo milestone, but it's really all the nitty-pick stuff that could kill a project. If you don't pay attention to the details, you could miss the big stuff because the details weren't handled. Clothing was another theme, nutrition, participants. And then this one, it ended up that transportation was actually one of the items they wrote down, and it became one of the themes. And somehow I missed getting it to the next screen. So transportation here was kind of a milestone. So it's the theme of the tasks that you can pull out and say, once we do all these things, we identify and obtain food and water, we can say our nutrition milestone has been achieved. Or once we have the appropriate clothing and gear, we have helmets, we have suits for boys and girls, we can purchase the suits, then we have our clothing milestone achieved. And so having the team go through and just think about what it is that they need to do, what are the steps to get through getting ready for their project and doing their in-community event. And then taking those milestones and kind of putting them into order will help them develop their timeline as well. You know, the first part for our taking a trip is picking the destination. Going to the moon helped decide that, oh yeah, we need to pick a crew, and knowing the crew would help us know what kind of clothing. And so is it 2 men's suits and 3 women's suits, or is it 3 women and 2 men? Or, you know, what are all those little pieces? And so thinking about what do you need to understand and learn for your project first and work on before you can move to the next milestone. And identifying that will help them with both the timeline goal and the milestone goal. And as I mentioned, you know, that initial list is not exhaustive. It's a full page here, but as they get in and start learning more things, the project challenge does say it's okay for the timeline and the plan to change, and it's only natural that it's going to. And so encourage the kids to don't stop brainstorming as you go. Keep this displayed somewhere that they can see each time they meet and say, did we find something new that needs to be added? Have them consider and add things to it, and maybe new milestones will fall out. There's only 3 milestones that are required, but you know, they're not limited to doing just 3. They might find that they have a 4th or a 5th that they want to add in and show some talents in the way they add that. And the other piece that comes out of project outreach a lot is it says, you know, you can continue a project from another time as long as you show the work that went into it this year. And so in the project that, you know, taking the trip to the moon, that could be the first year's project. And the second year is, how do we get back home? What's the trip to Earth look like? And so did we think about all the supplies we'd need to make that round trip? And do we have enough fuel to come in? And, you know, is the ship ready for the atmosphere? And all that fun stuff. So you can always take this and continue another project and kind of lay out what are the steps to expand on what we've done previous years into this year. Lena, you want to wrap it up? Was that a no?
Yes, there we go. I always forget about the meeting. Okay. So after training, so tonight, you will receive an email with a link to a Google Doc that will serve as a resource of documents and information related to the challenge. So team managers are encouraged to add questions to the doc with which the ACM, so us, will answer, and all team managers can use them as reference. And that's mostly because we find it helps kind of build that community. You see that there's other team managers will have, for those that have given permission, we'll share their information on there so you can know of other team managers that are going through the same thing. But also if you have questions, other people probably have the same ones. So we'll post any answers to those questions so you can see them. If we get questions in emails, we post them in there too. We'll also link to all resources that are helpful. So that'll include the challenge, our different slides like you see here. I saw that come up in the chat. Just so you have one spot to have all that information. And we want you to see that and to feel supported and realize that you are not alone. We are here to help you. There's other team managers that are here to help you as well, and that you are a heart of our whole thing that we're doing here, because without team managers, we wouldn't have kids that could have be able to do their projects, and then they wouldn't be able to do all the great things they're going to do. So without you, this wouldn't happen. And so we know that it's a big commitment of time, of energy, and there can be a lot of questions that come up. And so we just, at the end of the day, want you to feel really supported and excited about what you are doing.
Hey, Lena, this is Kate. If anybody is watching this on our YouTube channel after the webinar is over and you are a team manager that wants to get on the list, how would they do that? If they're just watching it on our YouTube channel after, can they email you, Lena, with their?
That's a great question. So the first slide, or the second slide, I guess, at the beginning that had our pictures with our contact information, you can email any of the three of us and let us know the information of your name and email address and what region you're in. And we can add that to our document and get you kind of in there with everybody else.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kate.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, we can quick pull up the chat here for a second and see if anyone has any questions so far. And if you think of something later, again, feel free to email any of us. And I know sometimes you process it later, or if you rewatch or anything like that, feel free to let us know what you're curious about.
All right. Well, if project is continuation, do they have to provide the background of the original piece? So it's a good question. It's not required. I would definitely identify that on the form that you're continuing it, so the appraisers are aware in case they saw it last year. You want them to know that you are continuing a similar project or the same project. Any background, if it's context, always helps. So it's not required, but it does help. So anything that the team can provide is helpful.
Yeah, good question, Yvonne. Any other questions?
All right. If project is a continuation, do they have to provide? Oh, I'm good. All right. Thank you. Sorry. Your I'm good popped in there. I started with a whole new question.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
I think we're done then.
Time and all the time and effort you're going to put into this season of DI. We appreciate your time and your work. We appreciate you. And we're so excited to see what your groups come up with in a few months.
Yep.
Have a good night.
See you
Thanks
all.
so much. Good night.